Good evening. This is actually the worst session because there's a sundowner party happening, there's alcohol outside, there's great music, and we're in this dingy air-conditioned room, and it's called Goa. I know the feeling because for the last 17 years I've been holding conferences in Goa, and all my employees hate me for it because we're in Goa and we're sitting in a conference room. Anyways, I'll try and make it as short as I can. One of the things about the introduction that the lovely lady forgot is that the business idea came to me when I was drinking free South African wine at Stellenbosch. And over a drunken ball where it was a lot of alcohol, I decided and I took the decision to quit my job. I really enjoyed my time at JWT. The irony of the situation is I started my career in advertising, and this is the first time I'm attending Goafest. But here I am. Anyways, so what I was asked to actually talk about is the changing face of the e-consumer. And I think it's going to be really boring if I just spoke about the e-consumer or take you through a presentation. What I think I will do is to try and use analogies, talk about our business, and use some real-life examples on how the face of the e-consumer has changed in India. So let me begin with, I don't know if you guys have watched the movie Forrest Gump, right? I'm like the Forrest Gump guy. I live in a 1 kilometer radius. I live in the house I was born in. I went to school, nursery, piano, college, where I live. My office is 1.5 kilometers away. I go on a cycle every day to work in Juhu in Bombay. The furthest I've ever been in my life is 30 kilometers away when I went to Sydney to do my master's. And my view to the world growing up in Bombay was, going to Sydenham on the weekend, going to Stirling on the weekends, Eros, and sitting on the steps and not knowing any information on what tickets were available, what show times, standing in a line for a cricket match, and the guy would say it's sold out. And the tickets were available for $500, but touts were selling it for $2,500. It really pained to know that there was no democracy. There was no democratization of information, of tickets, and people could jump the queue, jump the line, buy tickets and block seats, and I said something needs to be done about it. When also the business idea came to me, the reason the name of the company is Big Tree, and Karan right here designed the logo. He used to be in JWT for me. He designed the Big Tree logo, was because I was under a big tree and I heard a radio commercial of people trying, CompuTicket in South Africa trying to sell rugby tickets. I thought it was like Buddha getting his enlightenment under a big tree. When I came back and I realized that the 1953 Cinema Regulation and Telegraphic Act of India hasn't been changed till today. Telegrams don't exist, but the act still stays. You need to stamp the audit doorkeeper patron counterfoil. You could not issue automated tickets. There was no computerization. And I was suddenly hit with all these challenges and I didn't even know about them. Having said that, at the age of 24, I sent a fax to Chase Capital Partners, JP Morgan. And, dar ke, I said, I want 2 crores. That was $500,000. Those were the boom days. And in a week, I had 2 crores in my savings bank account. I could have taken the money and run. But I'm still here 17 years on. What we then did was we realized that the ecosystem in India didn't exist. There was no broadband connectivity, there was no internet penetration, there was no credit cards, there was diners and I think American Express, there was no net banking. So the only way you could buy tickets or indulge in e-commerce was using the phone. There was no unified number policy. I recall in 1999 when I was in JWT, I bought my first cell phone. At that time, it was 16 rupees incoming and 16 bucks outgoing. And I'm a Sindhi, I would never pick up any phone call. Every time somebody called you and you answered the phone, it was 16 bucks, man. Who's going to answer anybody's call? And the issue was that how do you then sell to Indians who want to buy tickets? We're a movie nation, crazy nation. There are 3.6 billion tickets sold annually in India, which is all of Africa, Middle East, North America, and Europe put together. There are only 12 screens per million people in India as opposed to 120 screens per million people in the US. The average ticket price in India is $1. All of us are used to paying 150, 200, 250 rupees because we think as urban Indians. But the average ticket price in India is $1. It used to be 33 cents a couple of years ago. The average ticket price in the US is $8. The average American goes and watches a movie 6 to 6.3 times. The average Indian, if you take a population of 1.2 billion, is 3 times. So you can imagine the headroom. We make the maximum number of movies in the world. We're a crazy nation. It's religion to us. Now that was the environment. So the headroom was there, the environment was there, but the ecosystem didn't exist. So what did I do next? I built 7 or 8 call centers across the country, and we would take phone calls. And on the weekday, we would deliver tickets by going to cinemas, buying tickets, and deliver them on bikes and collect cash. We were the first home delivery e-commerce company in the world. And on the weekdays, we had an opportunity loss because we could sell more, but there were no tickets to sell. On the weekday, we had actual losses because nobody wanted our tickets. It was a very cost-inefficient model. Also, in the internet business, as your cost curve flattens, your revenue curve needs to keep rising. The problem with us was that every time more people wanted tickets, I would have had to add more bodies behind the call center and more guys delivering tickets. So my cost curve always followed my revenue curve. Now, I don't want to bore you with this. Now, let me come back to what happened. 1999 onwards, I started scaling up the business. In 2000, I got invested by News Corp. By 2001, the dot-com bust happened, and I had gone to about 150 people. In 2002, I ran out of money. eBay was the other News Corp invested company. They could find a buyer with Bazi. Bazi was the other invested company, Avnish Bajaj. They found a buyer on eBay. They couldn't find a buyer with me. So I had to wind down my operations. The toughest time in my life was, it was easy convincing 150 people to live a dream, quit their jobs and join me. The toughest was when I took them to a park. I didn't even have money to take them for a coffee, and I had to tell them that I'm going to lose them. So I let go of 144 people out of 150. And I retained 6, including an office boy. I had no money to eat. I had no car. I had no fuel to pay. I had nothing. I didn't even have an STD phone in my office. My address was at Prabhadevi Industrial Estate, where most of you guys know Comart, Jasra, all those guys. I'm sure one of you flunkies must be running around getting your artworks done. I used to do that in my time. And it used to be opposite this really pious temple in Bombay called Siddhivinayak Temple. So when I opened my window, I could see a 2,500 square foot office right opposite Siddhivinayak. When the dot-com bust happened, I moved to a 136 square foot office in Bandra. The only difference was that this time it was right next to a bar, and that's where the hockey stick growth happened. So in Hindi, there's an adage that says, "Ki Bhagwan rehta kidhar and pate kahan ke deta hai," because he used to live there, but now, the hockey stick growth started there. And in 2002, we shifted the model and we said, screw all of this. We don't care. We're going to invest in building the ecosystem. I put my house on mortgage, and I took a 70 lakh rupee loan, and I started building stuff for the entertainment industry. I started putting software. I started building CRM. I started running the call centers and home delivery for people on a cost-plus basis. But what we always knew, that as the ecosystem changes, these troughs and peaks will keep coming. And now you're seeing this whole bubble of this dot-com, this whole boom and bubble. It's a bubble waiting to burst or have a pullback, which is very, very healthy. And I'll tell you, I've been through 2 of these. And what really happened in 2002 was when we started building the ecosystem, I started learning a lot of things. Now I'm going to give you a few examples. I used to run the call center and home delivery and run the e-commerce, the website, the mobile applications for a lot of cinemas, venues, concerts, events, sports. I'm changing the name here, but this is a true story. I'm not bullshitting you guys. In Delhi, I used to have a customer called Mr. Khanna. Now, how many of you are Book My Show customers? Awesome, I love that. I like doing that each time to feel good. Anyways, I always knew 90% of you guys would put up your hands. Anyways, so we don't take your name. I don't know your gender. I don't know your family income. We're running a coffee shop, right? When you come to Book My Show, you've come to buy a ticket. I don't ask you what's your name, what's your age, what's your gender, family income, mother's name, father's name. You're buying a coffee, right? You come, I want this. On my payment page, I ask you for your email ID and your mobile number because I need to send you a ticket. This net neutrality, and there is this whole bullshit about, customer information and privacy laws. It's crap. Companies have to govern themselves. I know everything about you. just like Google does, just like Facebook does, just like Ola does, just like Uber does. I know everything about you, and I will tell you how. So coming back to Mr. Khanna in Delhi, every time Khanna bought 2 tickets, it would be for a really sleazy movie, and he would get them home delivered, and he would buy them for a cinema, if any of you are from Delhi, for Liberty or Sangam, and a very sleazy movie home delivered to his office. Every time Khanna bought 4 tickets, it would be for a family movie or a kid's movie ticket, and he would get them delivered to his home. If you layer an analytical layer, Khanna was having an affair. As simple as that. Then I had this guy called Papu Pelwan in Paharganj. This guy would buy 3 tickets every time, and every 3rd or 4th transaction would snatch the tickets from the guy who's delivering them and bang the door. So he was from one of the akharas. Then we learned how to blacklist, whitelist customers. We learned how to not send the wrong email for a sleazy movie to Mr. Khanna's wife, and how to send a family, emailer or push notification to the right guys at the right time. And those were our really, really early building blocks on how we started building our business. What I'm going to jump to is, apart from the ecosystem and Book My Show, I'll come to where we are today. I'm going to share with you some numbers which we normally don't talk about. We're a very PR shy company. We don't do a lot of press. We don't talk about our numbers, but I will, because I owe it to advertising to where I am today. And here's the fraternity in front of me. Book My Show today gets 1 billion page views. We get 50 million visits. Book My Show sells us 6 million tickets a month. That's 60 lakh tickets. We've sold 1,700 crores worth of tickets March ended 31st, 2015. We're going to hit 2,500 crores. And it's all because we've just made it very simple. Also, this crap about this whole .com bubble, right? Let me tell you that there is a reality, that there is a huge headroom in this country. But there is also a reality called India today. There are 1.2 billion Indians. There are 800 or 900 million handsets. There are 250 million smartphones. There are 80 million data connections. That's your market, number 1. Number 2, 1.2 billion Indians, 350 million bank accounts. Out of that, 150 million belong to SBI because they're government employees, they have to have an SBI account. 200 million all other banks put together. I'll give you another statistic. Do you know how many credit cards are there in this country? Any guesses? How much? 12. Close. Far. There are 18 million credit cards in this country. It used to be 21 million before the global financial crisis and the subprime. They redid the credit rating. There are only 18 million credit cards. So when we talk about e-commerce, this bubble, while there is a headroom, there are only 18 million guys with credit cards. The total e-commerce population in this country is 45 million e-commerce transactors who've ever done an e-commerce transaction. 20 million of them have done it on credit card, and the rest, 25 million to 30 million at best, are cash on delivery. That's the reality. 50% is rejection ratio on COD. You'll see kids in my office who are buying shoes. The other day I was at my Pune Dev Center, and I was fucking worried. Because there's this 24-year-old kid who's bought 4 shoes from Myntra, and I'm like, what the hell? How much are we paying this guy? I asked HR. How much are we paying this guy? Because I know we're not the highest paymasters, but we're not very poor either. But this guy bought 4 shoes. And when I asked Vinod Putta that, you bought 4 shoes, he's saying, sir, 2 size, 4 color. जो मेरे को अच्छा चाहिए 3 return. I mean, it was unbelievable. So can you imagine, companies are showing GMV, not even MRP, because what happens with the GMV, they take the MRP, they're discounting, they don't factor discounting onto their balance sheet. Returns, they don't even calculate. Book My Show sits on 17 million downloads of mobile users, which is the highest in the country. We're the highest volume e-commerce driver in the country, not in terms of value, but in terms of volume. Now, those are the real metrics. So when you talk about the kind of scale that we're talking about in India, of course, it exists. Is there an opportunity? Of course it exists. Is there enough headroom? Of course it exists. But it's taken me 17 years. Last year, we won the Economic Times Awards for the Startup of the Year. I'm 40. It was like a lifetime achievement for startups. I'm gray, I'm balding, and after so many years, I get this bloody lifetime achievement, right? In India, the inflection point is not 3 to 4 years. The inflection point is 7 to 12 years. So even the funds that are funding you, the worldwide funds, their horizons are 12 years. Their LPs that fund VCs have a 12-year fund. The reason is because in India, you cannot scale a business or pivot in 3 to 4 years. So unless you're not looking for the long haul, unless you're not willing to commit, unless you're not willing to do that, just don't do it. Because you've got to stay the course. Now, on the hindsight, you can say, oh, you know, e-commerce, he's made so much money, all of that. And today, everybody's talking valuations. I think it's complete bullshit, right? Book My Show as a company, let me give you a little bit of insight into the company. When you come to us, we do things smartly. One of the things you will find is the coffee in our office tastes like shit because it's cheap coffee. But we have bean-to-cup coffee machines where you have an honor system for 20 bucks. At Book My Show, we don't have secretaries trying to book your tickets and give you, travel agents. We've got an online account and the billing goes and everybody books the most reasonable flight. We don't have people filling up forms. We've got travel, we've got, these applications. We've done a deal with Uber and Ola and you just book, we get a 30% off and it goes straight into the billing. We've kept a very, very lean organization. Alternate light bulbs in our office are off. The ACs are on 24 and not because we do it, the people believe that they should. Amazon.com, even today, the largest e-commerce company in the country, in the world, flies low-cost carriers. All the miles that get accrued to the company go back into funding the annual jamboree of the company. They have black and white printers, not color printers. In the e-commerce world, you've got to scrape the bottom of the barrel if you want to create value. The reason is because we are scaling so fast. For the last 7 years, Book My Show has been going at 100% on an average, CAGR, year on year. And the reason we are growing that rapidly is because we keep our costs low and our revenue curve keeps rising. We're the only e-commerce company that is EBITDA positive. We even turned PAT positive, and now we're spending more money to actually get EBITDA negative. Some of the e-commerce companies are GM negative. And the reason is because they want market share. They want dominance. They want to actually ring fence and acquire. Unless you don't do that, you will not succeed in this model. Having said that, let me come back to a few things which are the correct metric. Sure, our valuation is phenomenal. Sure, we are growing at a breakneck speed. Sure, we are in the right business at the right time. Sure, we've expanded into the right places and we are attracting the best talent in the country. But I think what the metrics for us, what is more important is as follows. My CTO in the company is a guy called Viraj Patel. He started with me 15 years ago, he's still with me. He hasn't passed his 12th standard exam, but his 7-year-old daughter can code. He's the best technology guy in the country. You've heard of the $1 billion sale that happened and then there was an apology letter. Book My Show gets a $2 billion sale every weekend, 52 times a year. Our systems never go down. My head of operations, we've gone live with IPL day before yesterday. Every stadium has 25,000 kids or people screaming in and entering those gates within a period of half an hour. It's a very complex turnstile management, scanning. We've got satellites which are giving us real-time data, right? We're running a team of about 800 people now. The two heads of operations have been with me for 12 years each. Do you know my customer service head? I'll give you an example. Her name is Komal Chanani, a real story. She started with me as a call center agent at IMAX Vadala, became a team leader, became a supervisor, today leads a team of 170 people, 24/7, 365 days of the year. She bleeds for the customer and she sacrifices her weekends or holidays so that consumers like you don't suffer on the weekend because our business is a weekend business. That's when we see peaks. We haven't imported somebody from outside. We haven't got somebody from a BPO and paying them $1 crore a year salary just because we let our employees punch far above their weight. My warehouse manager is a guy called Sanjay Asilwal. He leads a team of 11 people. If you go to his warehouse, 24/7 operation, I can guarantee he'll offer you cappuccino and green tea. He cannot speak in English. He used to be an office boy with me. Every weekend we have 30 events. Every weekend we have 50,000 people going through gates. We have handheld scanners, EDC machines, turnstiles, satellites, tabards, caps. All of this needs to be managed. Not one EDC can stop working. We'll have chaos on the gates. Sanjay Asilwal manages the whole inventory management. My office boy Rupesh is going through night college as we speak, and it's going through a voluntary fund in the company. Akshada, my maid's daughter, who lives at Nehru Nagar near NMIMS in Juhu. She was in Marathi medium school which went to near Hare Krishna temple. I started paying her salary. She worked with Komal Chenani. Today, when you call Book My Show, she speaks the Queen's English because we put her through regular college and we paid her fees. With a threat to her mother, who's my maid still, that if you remove her from college, she's going to lose her job. Now, those are the metrics of life. We have to make a difference. We draw from society and give back. These are true stories. We're running a food program in the company where $120 for anybody who's an AGM and above. There is $60 for people who is DGM and below, and for outsourced staff who are not my responsibility, housekeeping guys, security guards, peons, buys, 20 rupees, and we contribute their food. So, valuations, numbers, all of that will come, they will go. We're the flavor of the season. This will also go. In 3 or 4 years, you won't have me standing on the stage, you'll have somebody else who's done something else, right? Somebody who's doing a mission to the Mars. We're the flavor of the season, that's why you're calling us here. But the metrics of life and what you want to create, whether it's an e-commerce company, an e-consumer, whether it's a regular customer. I was talking to Jaideep last night about his business. What are the metrics of your business? It's not about how much money you're making, because that'll keep coming and going. Also, it's about creativity. When I was in J. Walter Thompson, I think I was a pretty creative guy. I worked with the creative teams, even though I was in servicing, planning. I worked with Ninad from Lowe's. He worked on our campaign. I recall, I'll go back to my JWT days. There is this, I used to work on an account which was HPCL, and we were selling lubricants. And the margin on lubricants is about 300%. Fuel, they used to lose money, right? Petrol is subsidized by the government, the guy loses money. But lubricants is extremely valuable. The funny part was the island boys never used to ask you about tail when you drove your car or bike. And that's where the guy makes a killing. If you go to a petrol station now, do you remember that every time you go there, the guy asks you, tail, oil pani check karoon? You've had that experience? When you go to a petrol pump, he asks you oil pani. That is because in 1999, I ran a campaign. It was a creative solution to a real life problem. It was not creative, it was not a font size, it was not how the image looked, how the logo looked. It was a genuine structural hole in the market which existed, and I filled it with creativity. We put all the HP Island boys with a cap and a little badge here, which said, if I don't ask you about oil, half a liter of free fuel. Every dealer was shitless scared, because every time the island boy didn't ask about lubricant, the guy would have to give half a liter free fuel. This is exactly when you go to PVR or you go to Cafe Coffee Day, it says if you don't get your bill, your order is free. That's what we did in 1999. Another thing that we realized is none of the mechanics knew what oil goes into the truck. All Tata trucks used to come with HPCL as an OEM oil. But when he went for his first service, the guy would do this, all mechanics do that, right? They dip their hand, they do this, smell something on the oil or whatever, and then he says, isme to castrol hai, isme BP hai. He would give some other name. It was HPCL. And even after we said HP Milsi, 9,000 kilometers, you can go 18,000, but the trucker wasn't interested. So what we did was, the cap, we looked at it like Intel inside. It doesn't matter what computer you buy as long as the chip inside is Intel. So we sponsored the cap of the lubricant and we said HP inside, and we paid for it for the Tatas. And every time the trucker would now go and the guy would say, "Isme Castrol or any other," he would see on the cap which was embossed and it would say HP inside, and the guy said, "No, put HP inside." Now, the truckers are one of the greatest AIDS carriers in this country as a community, because they're out of home for 60 to 90 days at a stretch, and they're out doing whatever the shenanigans, whatever they do, right? Now, you can look at it negatively or you can turn a positive spin about it. And what we did was we partnered with the government to actually run an AIDS awareness drive, and not that we were propagating sex, unsafe sex, but we put condoms on every 5-liter truck. Now, some babu in HPCL actually woke up and said, we're promoting, unsolicited sex and this and that, and it became a big issue. But what I'm trying to say is, problems exist for users and consumers at every step of the way. It's about those creative solutions that you find in your work space, whether you are a copywriter, whether you are a script writer, whether you are a producer, whether you are a creative director, whether you're a servicing guy, or whether you're a planner or a media guy. I think it's extremely important to find those solutions. At Book My Show, we're always looking at new ways to doing things. So to give you an example and an insight into where we're headed. So right now you know us as an e-commerce company and we sell tickets and complete your transaction. Very subliminally in our mobile app, we've added a recommended section. And what we've also done is started adding reviews and rating. And the reason we've done that is Book My Show is probably the only company which can give you an authenticated rating of the movie and not bullshit you. You can't come and say great movie or poor movie. You should have had to watch the movie. And we are sending you a push notification and we will start, and the app, when you load it the next time, will force you to rate the movie, and it will help consumers with the rating and the review of a movie. The second thing that we're doing is we're the only guys, and now I'm going to give you an insight into this privacy law that everybody is talking about. We self-govern ourselves. Do you know today when you're on Google and you are talking to your friend about going on this Goa trip, start looking at the right-hand side of your Google Gmail. It'll start showing you airline ads of Goa. It'll show you hotels, because it's scrubbing all your data and actually sharing stuff with you. Facebook does the same. I'm not on Facebook, but Facebook does the same. And the reason I'm not on Facebook is because in JWT I had a friend called Tony Nagaonkar, and the reason we called him Tony, his real name was Kunal Nagaonkar, a Bajaj guy. And we used to call him Tony because he used to always do this with his hands. It was like Tony the Tiger from Kellogg's. So we started calling him Tony. Everybody knows him as Tony. He was 39 running on Marine Drive, and a guy got a heart attack. If you get a heart attack below 45, you're going to pop at 90%. And the guy died. He had 1,500 friends on Facebook. And everybody was saying, Tony, we love you, rest in peace. Tony, I'll do that. So we wrote to everybody and said, hey, listen, funeral come. 6 guys showed up. That is the night I went and I disengaged my account. I disconnected my account. I mean, I don't want a fake book. I want a Facebook. You want to call me on my birthday, call me. Don't poke me and thumbs up me. Call me if you want to. So we use Facebook as social media. All the information is available about you. All your local, mobile, and social. These are the 3 pivots today of e-commerce or targeting a consumer. I'm going to give you a real-life example. When you log on to any device, any application, and if the company is a smart company, I have your data, and I don't know your name, I don't know your gender. Even if you've not bought a ticket with me, I have your token ID by downloading the mobile app. If you're sitting from Monday to Friday from 10 a.m. in the morning to about 5:30 in the evening, and you watch a trailer, watch a review, rating of a movie on our app, I can safely assume through the GPS data that that is your office. If you've switched off your GPS, I still get cell-site triangulation data up to 10 meters of where you are. If you surf that same application from 7 in the evening to 8 in the morning, that is your home address. When you're doing it on the weekend, that is your home address. Apart from that, when you buy a movie ticket or a show ticket, I know that you're going to be watching PK at PVR Juhu at 6:30 in the evening. At 8:30 in the evening after the runtime of the movie, I can stand with a gun outside because I know where you are and who you are. Or I can use that information positively. I can send out a deal or a discount for a movie or for a restaurant close by. I can say there are 4 beers waiting for you, or I can say there's a 10% discount. I can use mobile, I can use local. I can use your social information to see your likes and recommend stacks of content which will work for you. So I just got a notification from Book My Show as I was sitting there a little while ago on this show that's happening in Khar at a little bar called Hive, and it's a stand-up comedy tomorrow night. Now, Book My Show knows I'm in Juhu, so it's looked at a 5-7 kilometer radius. It knows I'm an English-speaking guy because it knows my history of English movies and the content that I watch, and it knows I've watched stand-up comedy in the past. It's that targeted that push notification, I can use it positively. Now, I'll leave you with another thought. A lot of people talk about privacy. Since we're in Goa, last year I got a call, our call center got a very desperate call from a mother that her son's friends had called her, and the phone got disconnected because there was too much cell site activity. It was too dense, and so they couldn't speak to the kid further. But the son had vomited and fainted at Sunburn, Goa. right? The mother's thinking drugs, the mother's thinking alcohol, the mother's thinking substances. She calls the call center and says, can you find out where my son is? It's a large area, it's a 4-acre area. The information required 6 clearances internally at 10:30 in the night or 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock in the night for us to approve the fact that we could track the kid's cell phone on a cell site triangulation within 10 meters and reach him. And we found him and we took him to the medics and he was given medical attention. Now we're sitting in Bombay, the customer care center is in Bombay or it could be the Chennai one. The mother is calling from another city and her kid is in Goa. And we were able to track this child. After that, our customer care continued to follow up with the mother on the progress of the child. And what we realized is it wasn't drugs laced with anything, it wasn't booze, it wasn't something that he smoked up. We realized that this kid, the mother told us obviously, he's suffering from an ailment where bright lights actually give spikes in his brain, which gets him to get fits every time there are bright lights. He's undergoing medication, he lives in Pune, and he can't ride a bike. And in a year he'll be fine, but every time there are bright lights or anything flashing, and that's what he saw. He had just one beer. He's a good kid. Now, you can use technology, e-commerce, triangulation to good use, or you can use it negatively. And that's probably the theme of this morning's talk and the talk later and all of us that we're talking about. So what I wanted to do was to give you a flavor of who we are as a company, what do we do below the hoods, what is e-commerce all about, what is the scale and scope, and what the true metrics of life really should be. It's been 17 years. Monday mornings for me are as exciting as Friday evenings. I don't do it for the valuation. I don't want to sound like God or anything. Of course, money is important. I'm a Vedanta student. We have a Vedanta class in office every Tuesday from 3 to 4:30, and it's open for anybody to come and attend. And we've built a very, very credible company which will last and its legacy will stay on in terms of the products and services that we provide, whether we're there in it or no. And I think that is the sort of legacy in every little way that each one of us must aspire to be. So even today, I drive a standard car. I go and do my regular stuff at the yacht club because the booze is really cheap. I don't want to spend more money. All the metrics in life are all limited to what we want to do for the user and the consumer. Ninad has been a part of a lot of sessions that we've actually spent time on. And we spent copious amounts of time in researching what consumers really want. And every product, user interaction, and product feature that comes into Book My Show and the things that we do go through at least a year's cycle of discovery, of interaction, of research, of A/B testing. Book My Show runs 10 A/B tests a day. Sometimes a person sitting on this chair is seeing something different and the other guy sitting here is seeing something different. We're running 10 A/B tests a day and testing and validating each of our models. And that's what's probably important today, because the rate of change is so rapid that if you don't do that, it's going to kind of completely blow the system. And I'm going to leave you with one final thought, and I'm open to questions because I'd rather you ask me questions than me preach a sermon. I'm from the old school. My ringtone on my phone hasn't changed in 18 years. It's Tambourine Man from Bob Dylan. I love watching Coldplay and U2. I've gone for both their concerts to Wembley. If there was Rolling Stones, I'd quit this talk right now and I'd be standing outside. My nieces who are 15 are into EDM. I find that the most ridiculous form of music. It was playing last night. I couldn't handle it for more than 20 minutes. I went to the room and I was listening to CCR. Having said that, but that's the market that I sell tickets for. I don't like Hindi movies. Now, to be a guy who runs a distillery, you don't need to be an alcoholic. I don't like Hindi movies, but I love selling them. I don't like EDM, but I like selling EDM. Having said that, EDM has become the greatest genre of music anywhere in the world. It's growing and it's transforming lives and people and the way music industry sees it today. It's very, very disruptive. Having said that, in India and rest of the places, we have this huge stigma about what EDM is all about. In Europe, drugs go with EDM. And we as parents in India, and I have a 3-year-old son, we're so worried about, what's going to happen. In Europe, the conversation is all about where is the source of the laced drugs. Drugs are recreational like smoking or drinking. It's bound to happen. Do what you may. Kids are going to indulge in it. They've set up tens and zeroed it down to an SOP, a standard operating procedure, that if a kid walks in, how can he get out in 22 minutes? So if it is an all-age concert, if it's an above 18 concert, the in and out time is 22 minutes. If it's an above 15 concert, the in and out time is 27 minutes. If it's an all-age concert, the time is 32 minutes. 90% of the cases are handled by hydration and just by giving kids water. In the US, the same thing. If you go to Madison Square Gardens, there are dogs with amnesty bins and they're scaring you. If you go to Madison Square Gardens, the last EDM concert happened a few months back because they don't want to do any more. In the US, the other thing that's there, just to do the paperwork because of insurance companies, it takes 25 minutes to do the paperwork while the kid is suffering. So again, when you look at the same EDM concert, what the metrics are. We had this, and a lot of us are actually getting obsolete. You know, we were all in the digital age where we used computers. The kids today don't even know what a keyboard is. My son, who's 3, tried to swipe the television at the age of 18 months old. The other day, he was asking my wife, there was a little arrow on a newspaper. He doesn't know how to turn the newspaper. There was a little arrow, and he kept pressing it. There's an Alive app on Times of India, right? There's a little arrow there. He kept trying to press it, and he was wondering why Peppa Pig wasn't playing on the newspaper. That's the generation we live in. Last week, we had this event. It's in May, actually. We went live with this lady called Lily Singh. She's an Indian-born Canadian. She's an Indian-origin Canadian, and she does spoofs on her parents. She's called Superwoman. We went live in 4 cities with her tickets, 1,500 tickets in each cities. Can you guess in how many minutes we sold out the tickets? Under 3 minutes. And the fact is, this new YouTube, Instagram, and Snapchat generation is so aware of what they want and so sure of what they want. We as marketers can do what we want. We will never even scratch the surface. There was no advertising, there was no Twitter, there was no Instagram, nothing. We just went live with Lily Singh, and in 3 minutes we've sold the tickets. We've added more shows. On Monday, if you have kids and girls who are between the age of 13, now this is my sales pitch, please log on to book my show at 1:43 in the afternoon. We're adding more shows. It's going to sell out in less than 3 minutes. Having said that, I think as marketers, my last point and final one, I think we're getting redundant if we don't stay with the program. If we don't, adopt and look at technology and imbibe it in the way we should, we will never be effective advertisers and marketers, and we will be losing the plot. Lily Singh, the 13-year-old kids, YouTube, and Book My Show was a reality check for me even after 17 years. Thanks very much. I'll take on questions if you want.
Excellent talk, Ashish. And first of all, let me compliment you for having a great first name and for going to a brilliant MBA college. Well done.
Oh, thank you. Are you an ex-cinema? Oh, fantastic.
Okay. So actually, if you suddenly find me getting a bit aggressive or not sitting on the fence, it's nothing personal. It's only because Goafest wants to know.
Okay.
And since we have a paucity of time, what I will do is I will start asking you the questions from the audiences. If there are any more, those can come in and wait for your answers on those. So the first question I have is from Chidambaram from Malayalam Manorama. He says, hi, any plans of going hyper-local and adding more standalone theatres into the platform? So I guess the question is that you're seen more as a metro PVRs and those kind of chains, more oriented towards them. What are your plans for going deeper down, standalone events, standalone cinema and so on?
So the metric we follow, Book My Show today, a lot of people don't know, again because we think as urban Indians, Book My Show is present in 220 cities and towns today as we speak. We're addressing a market size of 500 million tickets. Our metric for this year is to expand that to 1 billion tickets. So we're penetrating down deeper. Also, to let you know, the metrics that we follow is the top 10 cities, next 40 and the rest of India. So we are already tracking 50 cities in the rest of India. The challenge is not us. The challenge is the ecosystem. Payment systems don't exist in a large part of the country. People have smartphones, and smartphones, but they don't have data connections. And I think that really is the challenge. And a lot of cinemas don't have automated systems to actually hook up to the system. So to answer the gentleman's question, that we are still working on developing this ecosystem. In the next 6 months, you will see that again, in the next phase of our life as Book My Show, We're going to get into places which make us uncomfortable and be a little more disruptive, just not with ticketing, but outside of it, to try and penetrate deeper. But we are in 220 cities. We will expand that to 500 cities.
I wish you were here for the morning session. We could have had an even more interesting discussion. This question is anonymous. It says, is Book My Show cornering the tickets in a way to the disadvantage of the non-credit card holders and depriving them?
Look, we're an option. This question keeps coming up. We're an option. The box office is always available for you to walk up. We've even set up counters with IPL across the country where you can go and pay cash. We offer both services. We are not a monopolistic exclusive service where a ticket, suppose you have 100 tickets to sell for the Goafest, they will not be exclusively available at the box, online only or on the mobile. You have the freedom of choice to go to the box office or an offline outlet and pay cash. So we're an optional service. You choose to come to us and pay an extra convenience fee or log on using your credit card or net banking or debit card. So be it. Otherwise, you can go to the box office, send your driver, stand in line and pay the cash. I'm not stopping you.
Okay. The next question is from Mr. Joseph, again from Malayalam Manorama. He asks, do you have a strategy to tackle more and more local players eating into your share? First of all, is that a reality? Are local players eating into your share?
Two things. See, competition will come and go. When I started my company in 1999, when I was 24, I had 19 competitors. When the 2002 dot-com bust and crisis happened, 18 of them shut down. As Warren Buffett says, every time the tide pulls back, you know who's skinny dipping, right? And these peaks and troughs will come. In 2007, when the market picked up again, I had another 22 competitors. I bought one, I'm on the verge of buying another one, and the rest have shut down. There are about 4 or 5 other competitors. While it's important to track competitors, I don't have sleepless nights. I sleep at home well. I think my biggest competitor is the mindset of the Indian consumer and the box office. I think for us, that is the biggest competitor. The competitor for Kellogg's is not the idli eating or the dosa eating guy. The Kellogg's competition is make more Indians eat breakfast and not go to work without not eating breakfast. So for us, it is about expanding the market but not taking market share from another guy.
Good stuff. This question is from the president of 3 Years of I, and I'm pretty sure he actually doesn't expect an answer for this. He asks that the billion-dollar question is, when will the e-commerce bubble burst?
12 to 18 months, there's going to be a pullback. I've seen the bust happen in 2008. There is going to be a significant pullback in earlier than 12 to 18 months. I can see it because I'm in the industry. I know every VC hedge fund. Money is drying up already as we speak. So let me give you an example. One of the largest venture capitalists in the world from Japan, who invested in 3 companies and invested $1 billion in a single month after Modi went to Japan and met him, did not lead the second round of all his 3 investments. So there is an imminent pullback and money is, but we're sitting on cash and we are rubbing our hands because every time the tide pulls back, we hire talent and buy companies. This is the best time to do that.
That's a sobering thought if you say that another 12 to 18 months.
But it's good for the industry and it's good for the economy because a pullback is important because you start building efficiencies. While there is a bubble, see, more companies die out of indigestion than starvation. And I think a lot of companies are dying out of indigestion. They do stupid stuff. There's a company that I know whose entire business is in India, but has a team of 45 people in New York. And he's paying those salaries. They all fly business class and they all stay in 5 stars and they're GM negative. I mean, isn't it stupid? You wouldn't run a business like that.
I definitely wouldn't.
Exactly.
Okay. This question is from Akash. He asks, earlier you didn't used to charge extra for booking a movie ticket, but now you charge some surplus on every booking. So 2 parts to this question. Why are you monetizing from your loyal customers? And the second part is, hasn't it affected the customer experience?
Okay, so 2 things. The reason I charge an additional fee is because just like how you want to go and have a beer and eat dal chawal at home, even I need to do that. If I don't charge you, how the hell am I going to make money? I mean, are you trying to tell me that you're in advertising, I'm presuming somewhere, you're not going to charge your 2.5%, 12% or 15%? How are you going to make money? I don't make money anywhere other ways. I don't burn the candle on both sides. In fact, on movie tickets, The only fee that I charge you is the money that I take home as a revenue to run a company, pay salaries, pay my electricity bill, and run servers. What is wrong in that? Number one. Number two, for non-movie tickets, we charge the end consumer and we charge the organizer because we do a lot of stuff. If we were charging an astronomical fee, Book My Show would have huge profits. We're still an EBITDA negative company. We were EBITDA positive, we've gone negative because we're investing back in the market. But I see no shame in charging money for a convenience that you ought to pay for which you want. And just like how you would pay for a convenience for what you do.
So just to clarify, you said you charge 10% and so on. We only charge 15% as an industry.
Exactly.
Never deviate from there.
Exactly.
Okay. So this is the last question. Which e-commerce or any other company are you afraid of or scared of? Again from Akash.
None. Nothing. I sleep well at home at night. I don't fear or worry about anything. I put my head down and I can sleep at night every night because we do right by the people that work for us. We do right by our consumers. If we screw up, we always apologize and are honest to customers, give them a refund, give them a discount voucher, and we're right by everything. I think a lot of e-commerce companies that have come have done some amazing work and changed the ecosystem in this country. We're all in it together. Competition will come and go, but I think as long as this legacy stays, that's more important, so I don't fear anybody, honestly speaking.